Today, we begin a 7-part series on the Corporal Works of Mercy for our Perpetual Help TV devotions. The Corporal Works of Mercy probably rings a bell from your Catholic education years ago, but I wonder if you could name them. Not to worry, you are familiar with them. Feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, clothing the naked, sheltering the homeless, visiting the sick, ransoming the captive, and burying the dead. These are called the corporal works because they have to do with taking care of the bodily needs of human beings. Most of this list can be found in the parable of the sheep and the goats in chapter 25 of Matthew's Gospel. There the Son of Man, seated upon his throne of glory, pronounces judgment on all the nations, and he does so in a deeply personal way. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was a stranger, and you made me welcome. I was in prison, and you visited me. I will reflect upon the specific corporal works of mercy in future talks, but today I want to comment upon this parable of the sheep and the goats. First, I want to point out that most of what Jesus asks of us, we already do, and we do it in a very particular context, our own homes. Those of you who are parents, think of what you do to look after the bodily needs of your children, how you work hard to provide food, clothing, and shelter, how you sit by the bedside of a sick child or take the child to a doctor, how you welcome strangers into your homes when you welcome your children's friends, and how, though I hope you have never experienced this, you stick by your child if he or she is in trouble with the law. We do all of these things because we love our children. We provide for the basic necessities of life just because they are small and vulnerable and we care for them. We may be frightened of an illness or terrified of the police or even struggling to put food on the table, but as naturally as our Father in heaven looks after his children, so we look after ours. The lesson here is simple. Jesus wants us to see God as our Father, which then makes us all brothers and sisters. And like our own children, Jesus tells us that the poor, the vulnerable, the sick, and even the criminal have a special claim on us because of bodily needs. Now I can hear you thinking, oh, well, I can't look after everybody. I wouldn't know what to do in a prison. I have enough trouble looking after my own family. And this is all true. And so my second point is that Jesus is not asking you to be the king or the queen of the world. He is asking you to pay attention in your own world. Some of our brothers and sisters are hungry or homeless or sick, and there are opportunities to respond to them, not just with a vague sense of love, but with the very specific love that manifests itself in service to those in need. It may actually hurt to produce the money to get a hot lunch for a homeless person. But when Christ responds, "I was hungry and you gave me to eat," is it not clear what is being asked of us? We are to do what we can for those who enter our lives. But what if you are now old and think that you are unable to help in any practical way, or that it would be downright dangerous, for example, to open your door to a stranger? Jesus understands that this is not about putting yourself in danger. However, I have been struck at how often older people do respond wisely to the needs of others. Think of grandparents babysitting their grandchildren to give the parents a rest, or seniors who donate generously because they realize that the money will do some good. Or they support the dying by knitting prayer shawls, or phoning a lonely friend, or even keeping an eye on the neighborhood. Pay attention to the times you do serve Christ in the needy, and you will see that it is not that difficult to find opportunities to recognize him in new places. But now I come to my third point about the parable. Did you notice that Jesus is judging not individual human beings, but the nations? I recall being struck by this part of the parable when I said to myself, how will Jesus judge Canada? And the answer was pretty simple. He will judge all of us on whether or not we took seriously our societal responsibilities to care for the sick, to feed the poor, to make prisons a place of rehabilitation rather than retribution, to care for those with mental health problems. Now, if that sounds political, well, it is. In a democracy, we all have the responsibility to support those who take seriously the judgment of the nations by the Son of Man. In short, every day gives each of us opportunities to recognize Christ in our brothers and sisters who are in bodily need. And every day challenges us as Canadians to build a country of compassion and healing. In the parable of the sheep and goats, Jesus does not ask you if you have faith or believe in him. He asks if you looked after him. These works of mercy are the clear signs that we do believe in Jesus, because we have learned to recognize and serve him precisely in the bodily needs of our brothers and sisters.